Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pails, steel-toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I quote it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
What's going on, Jimmy? Wah, wah. Jimmy.
This was the game that we didn't want to see.
You know, we make fun of the NBA Cup, the NBA Emirates. What's it called?
The Abu Dhabi special.
Yeah, the Abu Dhabi. He tries to get psyched about it, and he tries to. And Bobby said this is the backstory, right? On the Garden Report chat. Bobby's like, when Bobby talks about like this play-in tournament, he's talking like, you know, here's the pool and here's what they're gonna do, and here's why they've got a good chance, and they got to play this guy, and he's literally talking
easy
about
schedule
it, like,
and
this is a cake schedule for the NBA Emirates, and he's talking about it like it's real stuff, and Jimmy and I are like, dude, what do we like? It's a game. It's a regular season game.
I had to make sure that like the stakes didn't change, and sure enough, they didn't. So I will say this, and
but they're into it. This is what you and I conceded. We thought it was a joke. Right. Players don't care, but teams get into it and they want to win it.
A team like the Hawks looked like they were in it, but John, on the other hand, it didn't look like the Celtics were into it. I'll tell you that. So if you're a team that won the NBA Finals, does the Abu Dhabi Cup really matter much to you? No, and I think the Celtics kind of showed that tonight. This is just another game to them. And actually, it was a bad game. It was even worse than like a meaningful regular season game.
You either want it and you friggin' get after it, or you are not ready to compete for the NBA Emirates Cup, as the Celtics clearly are not. And honestly, I think changes have to be made. This is the type of loss where you have to look inward, Jimmy, and decide whether or not there's something rotten with the core of this team.
It starts with Joe. We're going to get into Missoula a little bit too, because not a great Missoula game. And you got to wonder if he's on the hot seat now after a performance like this. The opening night for the Cup, all eyes are watching, you know? I mean, all of the world is waiting for the NBA Cup to the champion to host it. Quick side note on the NBA Cup. I kind of sneaky do love the Celtics court. I know it's wacky and wild,
I like it too.
And super green. And I was nervous to finagle with the colors on my TV because it was freaking out. But I kind of like the court. It looks like it looks like the line stripe guy went a little crazy. But other than that, I like the court. There's about 17 different sports on that court lined up. You can play volleyball on it. You can do a number of things. But
this loss proves the Celtics championship was fraudulent right here. This loss right here, Jimmy. No, I mean, look, kidding aside, like Jimmy and I both were like not NBA championship cup people, Emirates Cup play-in tournament cup. And then we turned on it because it really was fun and interesting. And I applaud the NBA for doing something fun and interesting. So I'm joking about it. I actually do think it
was fun. It's fun because, well, like the point differential to me is what made it fun. And that's what people were like crying about last year. It's like, it's like running up the score. It's like, grow up. Yeah, they are running up the score. It's fun to do that sometimes. And it's not just being a jerk about it. It actually matters when you win by by more points. So that's what I liked about it a little bit. And yeah, the players did get into it a little bit more. And there was kind of like maybe a European, they're trying to go for like the Euro style feel to it, right? Like an in-season tournament like they do in these other leagues. But I'll tell you what, the Celtics aren't going to be playing in it for long if they play like they did tonight. Down the line. This one.
Well, look,
they were out.
What? Look at the trend, right, Jimmy? And like, look, the Hawks are down 1 million people, but look at the trends here.
They're better.
You're willing to, they were better tonight, but you're willing to excuse a lot, right? Like you're willing to excuse like throughout the season. And like, I know you're mad at me because I wasn't getting more mad at stuff last year, but I really did feel like they had their shit together. And nothing was going to derail the championship run, but this is a new season and things are a little bit different. And so you have to look at it. You can't just be like, well, dude, they won, and blah blah. You have to kind of look what's going on, and like you're entering this game against a team that's missing like 40 guys. And what happened the last 2 games? 16-2 and 16-2 to start. So you're not waking up for games, and this wasn't necessarily the case tonight, but you're playing selectively, right? And you keep doing that, you're going to get burned, and they got burned tonight. They lost a game they absolutely shouldn't lose because you can't pick and choose when you're going to play and when you're not going to play. And again, they kind of shut it down for periods of time in this game, and they let the Hawks take it to them.
They were up 15 in this one, John. I mean, this was a game that was.
And then they were like, "Well, we're all set. Yeah, we're done."
Yeah. I mean, I got to give the Hawks as sleepy as the Celtics looked out there. I really do have to give this Hawks team credit because they were all over the glass. They were all over like any little pass. The Celtics, if they didn't put enough, like the Celtics couldn't get away with anything tonight. If their passes weren't as sharp as they needed to be, Hawks were getting a hand on the ball. They were tipping the passes. They were stealing, a lot of turnovers, a lot of steals, a lot of second chance opportunities, 25 more field goal attempts for the Hawks tonight, John, because of all those offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities, turnovers. Joe Mazzulla said it after the game. I don't know the exact quote, but he basically said, if your shot differential is that much, you're going to have trouble winning that game. And sure enough, the Celtics proved that. But the Hawks without Trae Young and a couple other guys, you see it sometimes with teams. Their superstar players gone and it allows the other guys to kind of spread their wings and play a little bit more team ball. The Hawks played inspired basketball tonight. They didn't give up. Even when they were down double digits, they fought back. They hit some big shots down the stretch. And they've got some good young players on that Hawks team. Now, they're much more likely to win the NBA Cup than they are the NBA Finals. So maybe that has something to do with it tonight. And the Celtics have bigger priorities, but you can't take nights off like this and expect to come out. This is a game where it means it should matter and mean more to the Celtics down the road that they lost it than if they won it, because it proves that you can't cheat your way to a number 1 seed, or you can't sleepwalk your way to an NBA title. You have a target on your back, NBA Cup game or not. If you don't play a full 48 and you're playing against an NBA team that is, you're going to lose that game. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how healthy you are.
Sometimes, but you're right. When they get away with it, they get away with partial efforts because they're that good. Tonight wasn't one of those nights.
But this second half was worse than a partial effort. I mean, if you had Brown and White and really nobody else, and Brown, I got to give Brown credit. He did miss 2 free throws late in the fourth, but he made up for it. After that, he hit a big 3, he hit another 2, missed the game winner. That was a tough one off the inbounds, but they forced the Hawks turnover to give themselves that last possession after the Hawks had taken the lead. So little good. A lot of bad in this one. You're going to have nights like this. The Celtics, obviously, we all have them winning a lot of games this year if you go back to our season preview and predictions. But there are going to be games like this. And this was certainly one of them. You gave the Hawks just so many opportunities to claw back, and they did. And they took the lead at the very late stages. Couple things you want to question, Mazzulla, you can. I thought some of the late game decision-making was questionable. Celtics had an opportunity for a 2-for-1. Didn't, and I feel like they always go for the 2-for-1. It feels like they always go for
they're
2-for-1.
addicted to it. Yeah.
And for whatever reason tonight, they had an easy 2-for-1 opportunity. I think they got the ball back with like 38 seconds or 40, close to 40 seconds, and just elected to not do it. And it came back to bite them. It really did.
Here's a little Joe Mazzulla kind of echoing your sentiments, Jimmy, about, just not really, basically just being outworked.
And they played more physical than we did, and they got 20 offensive rebounds and forced us into 20 turnovers. So you let a team outshoot you by the shot margin like that, and you're not going to win. Yeah.
Can you attribute to kind of just the carelessness with the ball?
Their physicality, their ball pressure. Threw a couple of passes on our heels. Their long, active hands, but just didn't. Some of the reads were there. We just didn't connect on the passes. but it's a credit to their physicality and their ball pressure.
How do you feel about the defense overall this year?
We're third
Bobby.
in actual, third in expected.
There you go. We're third.
Bobby.
Stats. Strategy, man.
Scoreboard. Numbers don't lie.
So, yeah, that sums it up, though. I mean, if you watch the game, you could just see the Hawks playing tougher basketball. Physical team, scrappy, pesky, all the words I like to use for a team that, that I don't have it. It's right here. If I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan, I'm looking for a hard hat tonight because this Hawks team, that was the definition. People ask, oh, what's the hard hat for? If you're a Hawks fan, you need to go get yourself a red hard hat because that was the definition of a hard hat win from a Hawks team. Down guys, scrappy, but good young players, man. I'm telling you, freaking Jalen Johnson had a great game. What's his name? Dyson Daniels. This guy, Dyson Daniels, was all over the place tonight.
Yeah.
And triple double by sorry. What?
Let me ask you this, Jimmy. The chat is in doomer mode right now.
Doomer?
Yeah, they're freaking out.
Why?
Because of the loss and because of habits, because of effort, and because they're a little concerned. And I think it's fair. Like, look, you could take this tact, which I was kind of joking, like, oh, it's all over. Right. Guys, I got to tell you, I'm a poser. I'm not. My wife got this hat. We were shopping for my nephew. People are asking me about PSG and like mad about my allegiance. My wife, we were shopping for something for my nephew, who's a big, soccer enthusiast, and I like it too. But we were just on a store, buying stuff for him because he likes a particular team. And my wife saw this hat and thought, "Oh, I like the colors," and bought it for me.
She likes what is she like? What does she like about the colors? Just like
I can't explain.
Traffic cone orange or
it's red.
It looks orange from here.
Orange.
I think it's clearly orange, actually, if the chat can confirm that, unless my eyes are wrong. But anyways.
So no, just to answer the PSG stuff in the chat.
Okay.
But
we cleared that up.
It is fair, like I said, if people right now are a little freaked out because they don't like what they see out of this team. They don't like they're kind of just showing up and playing partial games. And I think it's fair to say, like, outside of the first 3-4 games, again, where they shot the lights out and that kind of cures all ills, another team can't really get going or do much to you when you're just hitting 45% of your threes and shooting 60 a game. So outside of that, any concern about the patterns here, Jimmy?
You live by the three, that you die by the three. Tonight, it was more of an effort thing than not hitting shots. I mean, they shot 40% from three. They just allowed so many additional shots. Bobby's going to come on here too and tell you about how they got dominated on the glass, and that's something that you could be concerned about. And as good as Cade has been, he's still getting better, and he can't do it all. And they just don't have that interior presence, John. And I think teams are going to try to exploit that. And teams that are big and teams that are physical are going to do just that. And they are going to maximize their opportunities and their second chance opportunities. And that's how they're going to combat the Celtics taking all those extra 3-point shots. So there might be a little bit of a blueprint forming against this Celtics team, but it's going to be on Missoula and that coaching staff to figure out ways to get more physical, to figure out ways to get more, effective down low, especially on the defensive side of things. We knew going in that the 5 spot was going to be their weak spot on this team. And we thought, well, as long as they can just shoot the ball and outscore opponents, they'll be fine. Well, there's going to be games where that doesn't happen. Am I concerned to the point where it's like, no, I mean, it is what it is. It's a game they lost. They could go tomorrow against the Nets and win by 30, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye. So these games are going to happen. It's too. Listen, nobody likes to hit the panic meter more than I do, and try to manufacture something to care about. I'm not entirely there yet. I think the Hawks really just played with way more effort, and I think the Celtics. It's going to be, listen, if you want to be nervous about anything, it's going to be the fact that can the Celtics manufacture the effort and the care for an 82 game season? We were texting about it earlier today, John. It's just too long of a regular season. whether it's injuries, whether it's just effort, whether it's just like boredom. We're not even close to the dog days of the NBA season. We're not even close to it yet. So you can't use that as an excuse. But it's, a team coming off a championship, and they know what they know what it takes to win a championship, having just won one. So I'm sure that they understand that putting games together like this cannot become a trend. You can't get into these bad habits. I said it, you can't just flip a switch in the playoffs, right? So if we're talking about this, if we're having similar conversations at game 70 or game 60, then yeah, there's going to be a problem. And I'm already going to have panic by then. But game 12, still figuring some things out. Still just.
I do want to point out that, Jimmy, that you got mad at me when I wasn't panicking over losses like this last year. I just want to point that out.
It's too soon. I wasn't saying it at game 12.
I'm not panicked. I'm just saying that I think you got mad at me a little bit. But anyway,
later in the season, I probably did. Yeah.
Well, I don't. I'm over on Blue Sky now.
Also,
I'm less angry, Jimmy. I'm less angry now. You got a different tone. I got a different tone.
That was also before they won a title. So like
this is Blue Sky John. I'm not like angry Twitter troll. Yeah.
This is Blue Sky John. Is it all
it's
rainbows and blue skies over there?
Puppy dogs and sunshine. Noah, I'm a happier guy these days. It's my social media Prozac. It's really loud over there.
Yeah.
What's going on?
You're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna be happy with this audio.
There's like some event going on. Can you hear me okay or no?
No, I'm gonna take you off the stage for a split second, because the mic's coming in a little hot and it is loud over there. So we'll figure out those technical issues and get back to Noah in there because I'm curious. Huh?
I wonder if it was the AirPods mic that was on, because that's how.
Yeah, it did not sound like she's coming through on the mic at all. So we'll fix that. We'll get to know.
You angry. Yeah, nothing makes John angrier than bad sound.
Oh, it's my ADD brain. People like that have problems, like noises, loud noises. I get, I have a volume threshold, Jimmy, that and it doesn't have to always be soft, but if something comes in just a tick above what I consider to be my volume threshold, I'm a difficult person to be around.
I like this comment.
Yeah. Yeah. Josue had to leave something behind. He left Noah his mic. So, let's try it again. All right.
I think this was literally the mic that he left. This is better.
Yeah, I think you were
connected to the wrong.
Yeah. That's life. So Noah, Jimmy's a little mad. I'm not really mad. Are you mad? What happened? What happened tonight? Put your finger on, like, outside of the obvious, like, well, the Hawks played harder and they won, 50-50s. They killed them on the glass. But like, what are you looking at tonight? Is like, what, this is how'd you lose this game?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I haven't been concerned so far this season with some of the slow starts, some of the losses. This one felt like maybe a step further than we've seen in all this season, but nothing that we haven't seen in previous years. And so I guess the thing for me is like, if this is going to be the marquee loss of the year, then fine. You have a few of those every year. But there are some trends that you're seeing, like just the way they're coming out the gate. This is like 3 or 4 games in a row now where they're just not coming out with the right intensity. And so that's a little bit concerning. Not to the point where I'm like, oh, this team has dramatically changed. This is the exact same team that won the championship last year. But you don't love the fact that they're consistently coming out a little bit lackluster. They've relied on Peyton Pritchard and Amish Keita to bring in the energy these last 2 games, and it didn't really work this time. This time it was kind of slow throughout, and then they didn't deserve to win this game. So I thought Joe was very, I don't know if you guys had the pregame on, the postgame on, but Joe was very clear that they did not deserve to win this game. They were outplayed in every way, gave all the credit to Atlanta. And I think that's the only interpretation of this game. This is one of those that is either a sign of something bigger or it's just one of those losses you just want to forget about. And we'll know in the next few weeks if this is an isolated thing or not, I think.
Yeah. So my question is this: the chat is free. We haven't gotten into super game specifics here. The late, what happened late in the game there as well. But the crowd is the chat. We're gonna have to take a break here.
We need to give Noah a hard hat.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah,
I think the TD. What's it take to take that court down, the NBA Cup court? What's it take over there? Unbelievable.
Yeah,
we love you, Noah. We just can't hear you.
No, sorry, no, yeah, we're not hearing. We're not hearing it well. I think the Bull Gang is overpowering the microphone right now, so we're gonna have to either wait for the construction to end or relocate. But we will get them on as soon as possible.
Or they got to just figure out it's something wrong with them. The mic is picking up way too many outside noises.
Yeah, no doubt. We will get to the podium a little bit, and we'll hear a little bit more from the other, the other guys in this game. But let me go through the top targets here on the chat, and just see whether or not you. I just saw Bobby and his little hat walk through my screen here on the TD Garden. There he is again.
There he is.
Backpack. Tatum and Joe.
Yes.
Blame Pyatt.
Oh, we're doing blame pie. Pull up the blame pie.
You are.
We have the blame pie thing, don't we? I love that thing. I haven't seen it in a minute. Here we go.
It can't be a Jalen blame pie day.
I know, but I don't see any other ones. No, Jalen doesn't
Really?
get any piece of the blame. Yeah, we gotta get the blame pie back.
We have blame pies all over the place, but just the wrong one. Let's hear Derek White. By the way, let's do some positive. Without Derek White in the fourth quarter, this was a blowout. Let's listen to
Jalen in the fourth quarter too. He was very good in the fourth.
Yeah, but White was ridiculous. It wasn't just the threes he was hitting. It was like they was touching his hand and just flying out of there. He was unreal. Let's listen in on D White real quick.
50-50 balls seemed like, and they just wanted it a little bit more for some.
Over here, D.
Hey,
Derek, last two games, you guys went down 16 too early. You had this game, obviously. Seems like the focus has been a little more selective recently, which is a little uncharacteristic for you guys. What has gone into that?
I mean, our starts have been pretty bad. So it's on us as the starting five. But yeah, it's not really like us to come out and have to question our like readiness, especially like the group we have. So we gotta be better to start games for sure.
Jason has said that human nature plays a role, and that might be something you guys have to fight. Everybody likes to talk about the championship hangover. Is there something about having won and coming into the season, knowing how long the season is and what the ultimate goal is that maybe makes you guys look past some of this, especially when they're missing so many guys?
I mean, I think when guys are out, other people are just looking forward to that opportunity and just playing wild and free and shooting confidently. And we just got to up our intent level at the beginning of the games and just understand like that's what teams are trying to do. And I mean, we want to talk about last year all we want, but that's over with. We got to be ready to go to start every game.
Derek, what broke down for you guys in terms of rim
Bobby.
protection in this one? It looked like you got cross-matched a lot, specifically inside against some bigger guys. What kind of broke down inside defensively for you guys?
I mean, I just got to be better. It's going to be cross matches every game. And I just got to be better personally. But, yeah, I just got to be better.
Any questions for Derek? Thanks, sir.
Bobby made Derek sad.
yeah, he has to be better now. He's
Come on,
trying.
Bobby.
He's trying, Bobby.
I'm sick, but Derek White's basically apologizing to Bobby there.
Cross matches, matchups.
I know, Bobby. I was there. Press conference is over.
Damn it, Bobby.
I was there.
Yeah, downer game, man. Derek White, not very much a guy who gets too high or too low, but that would say that the energy on the podium is fair for how this game went for them.
Yeah, it's tough
again,
to
if they
question
win this
much
game,
about Derek White. Yeah,
if they win this game, we're having a big conversation about how freaking awesome Derek White is and how he's like.
and we still should be because he was awesome. And also the
No,
Jalen
no,
Brown.
no.
Jalen Brown needed a win, and tonight again, too many turnovers for sure. Missed free throws late. You can't ignore those. But also, if he's not doing what he's doing offensively in this game, and getting to the line, which was also really big for him, and again, 10 free throws, well above his season average. But Missed a couple late, comes back, hits another three. Nice to see the three ball go down a little bit. He started 1 for 4. He hit his last 2 to go 3 for 6. 14 to 22 from the field, 37 points. Again, he was a monster tonight, but you're going to remember, some of the other stuff that didn't necessarily go that way. Tatum, I know, is going to get a lot of flack because people didn't like his vibe and his effort, but I question how much pressure was on him to play with the ankle in this game. I think you could really use Lonnie Walker. I'm not going to lie, but
totally.
But I question how much pressure there was. The idea of the in-season tournament with back-to-backs coming off an ankle tweak would have been probably better for him not to play. So again, who knows? But we'll talk more about it. We'll get back to the podium in a little bit. And Bobby and Noah are going to be joining us. Real quick, we do want to tell you about our good friends over at Prize Picks. And boy, I loves me some Prize Picks. #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. That easy. It says it right there on the screen. You can win up to 100 times your money. You just got to pick 2 or more players. Pick the stats. Cross sport, doesn't matter. Pick more, pick less, and watch the winnings roll in. Again, all you have to do if you're a new user is sign up, play $5. That's it. You put down 5, you get 50 in your account just like that instantly. You don't have to win. So again, check that out. Use that code CLNS when you sign up today and get involved with Prize Picks. Also want to tell you about Game Time. You want to get in on your favorite action here and check out some games. You want to check out the Celtics. You want to see that funky green court, see some of your favorite concerts. Game Time is a place to go. Download the app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. All-in pricing, low price guarantee, and terrific panoramic views from your seat, so you know exactly what it is you are getting. Check that out. We are going to quickly check out Jaylen Brown. Who's up at the podium right now. We're going to hear from Jaylen.
They came out and played physical, but me and JT got to do better.
And Noah. We'll hear from Noah.
20 turnovers as a team.
Noah, it's so quiet.
At 11 combined, and some of those are offensive fouls and whatever. But still, just we got to be better securing the ball, getting to our spacing, and we didn't do that tonight, and it cost our team.
Joe, what was your view on what happened with the inadvertent whistle when you had the steal there?
What was the deal?
What was your view like?
Just trying to make a play all the way through the whistle. We had an inadvertent turnover. With an opportunity to go to go up. So just trying to make something happen. I guess he blew the whistle, thinking that I was out of bounds, but I wasn't. Was able to get that steal, but wasn't able to convert on the offensive end.
You guys obviously, set a pretty high standard for yourselves, but it does seem like this last week or two you haven't quite been at the level you're used to. What kind of things are you seeing, beyond maybe the starts, just in general, that you guys need to clean up a little more?
Defense setting the tone, physicality, too many layups. I think we guarded the three-point line well. Just physicality, switching, rebounding, stuff like that, that we got to, night to night, we got to be great at. And tonight we wasn't.
A few games ago, Joe talked about embracing the chaos of a game. This felt like a pretty chaotic game. Atlanta made it a point to make it chaotic. What's the difference between, I think it was the Bucks game when he said it, in a game like that where you're able to match that versus tonight? Is it just, what happened?
I think, I think mentally, we just was too careless tonight. We expected to win, too careless. And it showed. I think the #1 category it showed was on our turnovers. Uncharacteristic of us to have 20 turnovers and under any circumstance. I just think that just displayed that, we wasn't in sync like we normally were. So we got to be better at that. And, I got to be better at that.
Jaylen, you mentioned the defense. Inside, guarding the rim specifically, what have you noticed?
Bobby keeps telling me he's going to be on in a second, and he keeps asking questions.
We switch.
Both things can't be true.
Fight.
Bobby, we can hear you.
A team that be able to like to be able to switch, but you got to rebound and you gotta fight. Some of those bigs, they got a lot of seals tonight. Okongwu and Capella did a good job offensive rebounding and sealing some of our switches. And made us pay for it, and we just got to fight better. We didn't fight we normally do tonight.
Jalen, how do you increase that physicality? Like, how do you become the harder playing team all the time?
It's just a mentality. It's a mentality, and this is a part of the journey. But we got some stuff to clean up. We're not a perfect team. It's a new season. It's a new journey, and we're looking forward to embracing, those moments. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna address what needs to be addressed. So we got to be able to move forward. Can't let it turn into, a habit. We got to be able to respond well. So we looking forward to film. Got a back-to-back coming up. We're gonna put it behind us, but we're gonna learn from these situations, and we'll be better.
So Noah, I'm going right to you with this.
Nice.
My least favorite press conferences are the ones where the word "we" is thrown around. And it's not like I expect people to call out names. We need to do this.
Oh, okay.
And when people say we, oftentimes they mean other people. I'm not going to say who, but sure, I'll say we. But really, I scored 37 points and I left it all out there. So I'm not really part of we. Who is the we tonight? Who wasn't trying? Was it a true collective lack of effort, lack of focus? The entire team going in and out? Was it pockets of different players? Like, where did you see the letdown tonight?
Yeah, it's a good question. I will say, John, if you're not a big fan of you're gonna have you probably had a hard time with a lot of these press conferences because I feel like it's the number one thing that Celtics players say. I've been
harping on it for a long time.
It ain't gonna change.
It was worse when things were bad because we meant. I'm looking around the room and I see a lot of guys not doing it. Much less so, obviously, now that they've got a championship pedigree. But that we thing, when it pops up, I don't think people mean we. So yeah, it's been a hang up of mine for a while. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Joe said individual defense. I think it was honestly almost everybody tonight that was lapsing, and Jalen as well. Jalen had a really good offensive game as far as, he scored 37 points, but he also had some lazy passes. He had some moments where he wasn't fully focused. He also had some moments defensively where he got burned. He had the best game of anybody tonight. I don't want this to be an anti Jalen crusade.
And
at all,
he did mention him and Tatum as well. Like he did say them by name. So I'm not really there, but it's like I'm more curious in the observation. Did you think it was everybody?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've been feeling about these starts in general. Like Tillman kind of got the brunt of the blame the other day because he was in that starting group that struggled when they went down 16-2, but that was just one out of the last 4 slow starts. They're just not coming out the gate with the right intensity. And I think the reality is that this tends to happen when teams win a championship and come back the following year. Like it's not, you don't just come back and not miss a beat. And, typically this is something that happens early on. And we were hoping that the Celtics team was going to be not like that. And I think that there was reason to believe that with Joe Mazzulla and with other pieces here, with Jalen's intensity, like maybe they were actually going to avoid that championship hangover. But it's kind of what you're seeing. I mean, he said it's a part of the journey, and he's absolutely right. But this is the part of the journey where you're not. Jalen Brown did just now.
Just now, somebody said Tatum said something earlier, which I didn't see because he hasn't gone to the podium yet, about human nature regarding like the hangover, and that's why Brown was asked about it. I didn't hear him say that. I'm not sure.
Tatum was in the locker room, so I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't think
there it is.
I don't think he's doing the podium.
Okay, because the idea of the human nature and the letdown, like it is, but like should it be? Like I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a conversation to be had about like Tatum's defensive intensity at points this season. The reality is that the other night, like Joe Mazzulla pretty much never calls out players. And the other night he did say, I challenged him at halftime to play better defense. And then he did. And that was great. And then Drew said in that same post game, we're a much better team when Tatum is playing good defense. So I think there's an element of like, he hasn't been always locked in on the defensive end this season. And I don't think it's unique to the season, but certainly that doesn't help. I don't think it's just him, though. I think Al has had lapses that are uncharacteristic. Drew and Derek, I think, have been pretty good, but Drew has had some lapses as well. I mean, it's usually a contagious thing. I don't think it's one guy is completely locked in and then the other guy is defensively locked out. Like I think that it's kind of as a unit, they really just haven't had the right intensity. And that's why I felt like there's been certain moments this season where like Pritchard's come in and he's just given them that energy, and then everybody started to pick it up. But you can't have one guy off the bench come in and dictate that, right?
With Tatum, how much is it the offense defense thing? Because I really do feel like it goes hand in hand. The old habits of can't get things going offensively or the shot isn't falling. Oftentimes translates to either maybe looking for a call or slumping the shoulders and getting a little bit late to get back. How much of that was going on tonight versus how much do you think you might have been hobbled a little bit by his ankle? Because he didn't have a good game in any regard, shooting the ball. The defensive lapses, as you mentioned, turning it over. I mean, it was just a really, really poor performance.
Yeah, I thought the ankle looked like it bothered him late. He seemed to
And he did tweak it.
Yeah, he seemed to retweak it. He missed his first 4 shots like badly, like front rim, like not like just in and out, whatever. He looked really off to begin, and it's really hard to say if that's because of his ankle or not. Like only he knows if it was really if it was a big part of what he was feeling. But once he retweaked it, I felt like he was kind of slow on a bunch of possessions, and I think I admire the fact that he plays through injuries. He's one of the most dependable superstars in the league. You have to credit you would pick that over anybody else from that standpoint. But I have felt over the years like there's games where he just is a step slow and he's a step behind, and maybe it'd be better if he just sat and somebody else played. Like obviously the famous example being Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where he was really like a liability. This wasn't like that by any means, but I think sometimes like his desire to play, like he's not always at 100%, and you can see it. It's not like somebody that you can't see that he's playing through something. Like you can sometimes tell. And tonight was one of those times where I felt like he seemed slow, maybe not early on, but I think once he re-aggravated the ankle, in particular, I felt like it was bothering him. But I'll rewatch it and then I'll see if I think that was the main culprit here, or if it was just a mindset thing, because there have also been games prior to the ankle injury where he and everybody else, I don't want to single him out because I don't think it's really accurate to say that it's him specifically, but I do know that him and Jalen can set the tone and everybody else kind of follows suit. And with Jalen out, there were a couple of games where Tatum wasn't really setting the tone defensively, and it was certainly kind of carrying over. But again, the funny thing is Jalen makes that last shot, like we're still talking about how this game should never have been close, but there were some good things that kept them in it, because ultimately, like, they only lost by 1, right? But because they lost to a team that they were so much more talented than, so outmatched, obviously that's not going to be the focus here. But it is kind of funny just to think about, because it feels like a pretty disastrous loss, yet they had a chance. And Tatum had an in and out 3-pointer from the corner that had he made that would have iced the game. So a couple opportunities there that slipped through.
I think it's that they blew a 15-point lead too. I mean, this was a game that they really had no business losing, right? Even though, they had an opportunity to win it in the end, it shouldn't have ever got to that point. You were talking about slow starts earlier, but we're also getting like full first quarter Tatum. Are these like, is this a coincidence or like, what's the connection between Tatum all of a sudden getting, because last year, it was.
Yeah, but Joe's done this all year.
I know.
This was the first time in years that the two of them have played the entire first quarter.
But Brown doing
together.
it, is not right.
Brown, right.
Yeah.
And we didn't know.
Joe got funky. Joe got funky tonight. He definitely mixed things up a little bit with how he rotated, and it definitely had mixed results.
Yeah, and my interpretation of the first quarter thing, again, I don't know for sure, but I think Jalen just had it going. He had like 16 points in the first quarter after really struggling for a couple of games here. And so I think he felt like, let me just let him ride this. He's been looking for some rhythm. He's missed some games with injury. And then Tatum's been doing the first quarter thing. So yeah, it ended up being a little bit of an unusual sub pattern. I don't know that it necessarily made the difference, but I will say I always tally up the leading scores after each quarter. And after the first quarter, it was like pretty much just Jalen and Jason had scored. And nobody else had really contributed. And generally speaking, with this iteration of the Celtics, like I don't think that's the best recipe for their success. And obviously Derek White got going later on, but as much as it's good that they're both putting up points, like generally speaking, it's better when Drew Holiday and Sam Hauser's getting his touches. He hasn't been getting enough looks. Like I think there's just other signs that show the offense is functioning better, more so than just their 2 points.
I don't want to I do feel like a big reason for this last night was just the dominance that the Hawks had down low on the offensive glass and maximizing, their opportunities and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like that's the reason why I lost tonight. But I also feel like this was another game where I just didn't really notice Drew Holiday that much. And I don't know if that's something to be concerned. I'm not concerned about it, but is it something to note that there's been a few games this year early on where And again, he does a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet, right? And you have to really watch the game to see his effect. I get it. I do watch the games, but I still feel like it almost feels like he's missing a half step in certain situations.
Yeah, I don't feel like he's being like slow or anything, but he hasn't asserted himself as much as we saw during the playoffs. I thought like one of the most brilliant things that happened during last year's playoffs is that Drew Holiday became like a 20 points per night threat. And there were losses earlier on where like he wasn't really even being guarded. Like I remember versus the Nuggets where they were kind of just letting Drew Holiday just kind of stand there. And he didn't really capitalize, and everybody was talking about it afterwards. And so he might have to wake up and reassert himself offensively as a threat, because I do think that they are a much more dynamic team when he's looking for his shot. And that was the big key in the playoffs. Yeah. And
just five attempts tonight, 2 of 5 from the field. He's getting 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad signing. What are you going to do?
Bad trade.
And how many shots did Hauser finish with?
Hauser also was kind of a no-show tonight. He had 3, but he made 2 of them. So again, he didn't get many up, but he's 2 or 3 from 3 in his 19 minutes. Keita didn't get a single field goal attempt all night in his 21
That's weird,
minutes.
yeah.
Which is
the Hauser
weird
one is the
because,
one I always keep my eye on, because I
Yeah.
do think like when Hauser attempts 8, 9 threes, it's a sign of a healthy offense that's moving the
Because
ball,
things are
finding
moving.
the open
Yeah.
guy. And
Yeah.
when he gets 3 shots up, it's like, he was 2 for 3 for night. Maybe he could have had it, but it's not a good sign for them.
Well, the Celtics did not play connected basketball tonight. 20 turnovers. They left a lot of, they allowed the Hawks to score all those second chance opportunities. So they're not getting out in transition. It's the Hawks are getting back on defense. The Hawks are kind of running things the way they want it. So the Celtics can't do what they did. When they're clicking on all cylinders, it's when they're getting out in transition, whipping the ball around, exploiting like a double team that, on Tatum and finding the open guy. Noah hated my point. She's like, he sucks. I'm getting out of here.
No, your point is valid. We're going to be joined by Bobby in a little bit as well, jumping in here and giving his insights on the game. Mr. Bobby Lockers.
Bobby, he's not still at the podium.
Bobby ski hat. Yeah.
Does he have a ski hat on right now?
He did.
Oh God.
He's okay.
The indoor ski hat.
Did you see Joe Mazzulla was a Jeopardy question?
No. What was the question?
Might have been an old one that it made its way onto my feed. But I'll pull it up. We'll throw it on the screen at some point. But yeah, Mazzulla was a
cool. Did they? I bet you they got it wrong. There's no way the Jeopardy contestant got that one right.
No, it was an easy answer. I'll pull it up later. Let's bring in this guy.
Oh, Emo Bobby.
Huh?
He's a man of many hats.
I love this guy.
Emo Bobby.
Let's try that. No, that's not going to work.
We can't hear them.
I'm just trying different things here.
There he is.
None of these work. Yeah, we got you.
Damn it, John.
Perfect.
All right, that works.
What's up? What's up, guys? Bobby, what do you got?
Yeah,
Save the
Brown, Tatum
mustache.
talking after this one, and Brown definitive that they got to get better, specifically on the defensive end right now. Address some things. He put it on himself and Tatum in this game with the turnovers. Took responsibility for this game and the way that it went. So, among the people we talked to after the game, White, Tatum, and Brown, the one a little more forceful in terms of his urgency to get this thing right here. And it is defense right now to me. And this was obviously, I think, a unique game where they're turning the ball over and they're giving up offensive rebounds. There's other factors, but I do think you've seen this build up here in terms of the amount of shots they're giving up at the rim, the efficiency with which they're giving up those looks. And I think some of it goes back to the obsession we talked about with them trying to take away threes at the beginning of the year. I think it took away from their interior defense. And then this one, what are you seeing? It's like Okongwu against White and Capella going up against Jalen, and just all these mismatches that they're giving up in the post have piled up as the game went on there. And this is kind of a weird game. Daniels hit some ridiculous ones in there. And again, when you're going in transition, I'm sure a lot of those shots at the basket are transition looks off turnovers. But this is something I've been talking about all year long, is they're really uneasy rim protection. I know Drew Carter tweeted out like the first 5 games, it was 28th. The next 5 games, it was first with Keita involved a little more. And Kata wasn't great tonight, but this was probably a game that called for a little bit more double big than we saw.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, schematically, I still don't mind them giving up, preventing more 3-pointers in favor of like maybe these layups, because in the end of the day, like they lost by 1 and they made so many errors. I mean, 20 turnovers. The offensive rebounds, I feel like, was the big thing. And maybe that is, that is part of the defensive schemes a little bit. But curious what Jason Tatum said, because we had Jaylen Brown over here, but we were speculating about what his vibe was in the locker room. You were there?
Yeah, I mean, Tatum pretty even keeled as always. Said he should have caught the pass on the last play there.
That was a weird play.
Yeah, there was talk about his arm maybe getting grabbed, but he basically said, I got to catch that. And I feel the same way. It just bounced right by him from the replay that I saw.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, I asked him about the rim protection, said he hasn't seen the numbers, but, they can be better defensively. And they just got to play better, though. He did agree with Joe's assessment. I do think for Joe, by Joe's standards, we got outplayed in every facet is pretty biting criticism from Missoula.
Yeah, he wasn't going to say anything outside of that today. I feel like he was asked the same question, rephrased in a couple different ways, and it was very clear. I mean, they were. That was the reality. I was seeing people, like just national NBA people, saying this Hawks performance is one of the greatest all-time underdog performances we've seen.
15 and a half,
like,
I think.
And especially when you think about who they had tonight, Quinn Snyder pregame was like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to find a way to compete and just like hang in there. If you had told us that, like, at that point, like they're actually going to come out with a win against this like Celtics starting lineup that is won the championship last year. I mean, he said we were down 3 quarterbacks effectively. So it was a really impressive performance from the Hawks. And I don't think Joe had anything to say other than we were literally outplayed in every facet, because they were.
Tatum also asked about the ankle, his health after this one. He said he's going to play tomorrow and, he's good to go. So I did see him limping around a little bit. I know you asked about that, John, and specifically after the steal where he kind of fell back on the ground. I noticed him come up a little lame after that one. So I saw him impacted in this one. He started 0 for 4, right? It was a slow start offensively.
It was a very dramatic 0 for 4, too.
It's something to watch there. And I do think you had that my turn, your turn thing going between him and Brown in this one a little bit. And this was a great Brown game. I mean, he almost stole the game on the last possession. That was just ridiculous what he did there. And I thought got a decent shot off. It was a tough one, but what are you going to get going full court with 5 seconds left? So, I mean, credit to Brown, who was okay in Milwaukee, but amazing in this one.
And that's a good sign.
Look, that double clutch. There was good defense there. There was a hand in his face. He had the double clutch it. He got to a spot on that last shot. It's just, I think that little double clutch, he had to shoot it a little bit on his way down, and it just didn't get exactly the look that he wanted. But you're not going to argue with your best player going to one of his bread and butters, which is
make a play, right?
That foul line fadeaway. That's his spot. He got there, but the defense was decent. He had to kind of double clutch it and go. No, a quick question for you. You tweeted at one point in the game that, or you might have blue skied it. I wasn't sure, but you did say that this was a tough watch tonight, and that you don't say that often. What was it that got you?
What got me? I think at one point I was filming the game from like the skyscraper view that I often film for, and it literally looked like it was in slow motion on the Celtics end. Like I was watching the way they're moving defensively, the way they're moving up the floor. A couple of times there were turnovers where guys didn't do the Derek White, go back and try to contest and make the layup a little bit more difficult, kind of just gave up on the shot. So I think just you don't oftentimes see this team come out with low effort, and it wasn't low effort for 48 minutes, and it certainly wasn't low effort by everybody for 48 minutes, but there were uncharacteristic spurts of low effort. And then the offensive rebounds is just a tough watch sometimes when, you just see 2-3 guys standing there and someone just comes in. And we've seen this versus the Hawks a couple of times over the years. So it's become almost like they have a little bit of an Achilles heel for this team. I mean, Bobby and I were at Atlanta last year when they lost 2 in a row, and both of them were pretty bad letdown games. But yeah, that's what kind of stood out to me was just the effort and then the offensive rebounding. Offensively, it was like, there were highs and lows, but Jaylen put a pretty masterful performance together. Derek White saved them so many possessions where it was a broken play, and then he just hit one of his kind of like patented threes. So there were highlights, there were moments. Also, the crowd, I would say, was one of the worst I've experienced in this building.
Yeah, I mean, Celtics didn't separate themselves at many points. The one play, though, the alley-oop.
Wait. Why was it so bad?
A shot at
they were just
crowd.
in it. Crowd was dead. Yeah, I mean, it was an early tip. I feel like that doesn't help.
Tuesday night.
Yeah. Because you're only getting a high profile in-season tournament games like this is the big money crowd, right? These aren't the real fans. These are the guys who paid premium dollar
Right
for
from
these
Saudi
tickets.
Arabia.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is heavy money here. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back. Jimmy, you said it a couple shows ago. Cater bringing a meanness, a toughness, a physicality. I'm going to keep going back to him in this game because I don't know why he wasn't. He did get that sub midway through the fourth quarter. It felt like maybe they were going for a little more rim protection there. And I know Pritchard subbed in there too. So they got a little stint with that bench group. This is a tougher game for Pritchard where he's going to get attacked by the bigger guys on the Hawks. But Cater, I feel like, had a case to close this game out. And, you know, they go with Horford. They go with the starters. I understand that. But the Hawks had no shooters in this game. Like, no one who could hit a three. Daniels didn't hit any despite the crazy game he had. Reese Shea can't shoot him. Johnson's weak. So across the board, you had opportunities to get Kata in there and play him off a guy. I mean, Okongwu, if you want to shoot 10 threes in this game, you should have let him. They got destroyed at the rim, and it's something to watch because obviously when Kata's on the floor, you're getting some good rim protection there. And when he's not, and Joe said it after the game too, they're a little small. They're a little vulnerable to the interior scoring that other teams are throwing at them. I mean, I look back, they gave up 75% shooting at the rim to the Bucks the other night. And again, they've had some good games. They've had some really bad games. So it's sort of been up and down the whole way. I asked Joe how he felt about the defense overall this year, and he did the all with third thing. So, I mean, are we going to do this again like 2 years ago? Like, we're going to just keep throwing out the number instead of like what it looks like here?
Which
and, like,
which
that
number?
specific
Oh,
area.
the Joe response
to the league. Yeah,
the Joe
like,
response to you. Honestly, I look, I hate that answer. Hate it.
Like,
hate it. It's just, it has nothing to do with it. It doesn't really mean anything. Guys, we're going to take you off for 1 second because we're just tweaking something behind the scenes. But yeah, Jimmy, I'm going to talk about that because it was a Bobby question and a you know, a little terse Joe answer there of, you know, we're third in the league. I hate that defensive stuff. Like, he's right ish, you know, but like, there's so much more to it than a final number in what it comes down to. It's just ultimately like, do you think you're playing to your best capabilities? Like, here's the thing. If Joe
also not
Mazzulla,
acknowledging trends either. You know?
it's just it's a pointless defensive answer because if Joe Mazzulla can acknowledge that they played poorly like the entire game and that they got out hustled and outworked every step of the way, and that it's happened, you know, at times before, there's no reason to get defensive over that particular question and
right.
And tout the
All I asked was, how do you feel about the defense this year? And it was, number 3.
Yeah, we were watching.
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they've been okay on that end this year. Again, they've had good games. They've overall, again, ranked third, I guess. I haven't looked at that, but I guess that's where they are. The interior is a problem. Would you agree, John?
Yeah, I mean, look, but you know it's going to be a problem. Like, your really only consistent rim protector who was playing minutes last year is Porzingis, so you knew you're going to be challenged in that regard all season long. You get flashes from Kata, but then you also get, like, Kata from Kata. You know, like, he's going to, you know, he's got his lapses. It's not going to be perfect all of the time. And this was one of those games where it wasn't perfect. He had a couple of blocks early, and I think his presence was felt. But you saw the numbers that you put out there. I can't remember who tweeted them or put him out there. Brian Barrett might have taken him from someone else. But the rim protection numbers and the interior field goal percentage for teams from, pre-Kata, post-Kata are pretty significant. So again, this might have been more of a one-off. There has been an improvement in terms of them being able to defend the paint since he started playing a little bit more. At the very least, like, people know he's back there, so he's definitely a deterrent, even if he's not actually altering shots or getting a ton of blocks.
Right.
So
it just makes them
I don't
bigger.
know. I don't know if it's a problem. I think they have actually addressed it as well as they possibly could have by putting him in there. And I think that's one of the reasons he's in there right now. You'll live with some imperfections to have a guy back there who people have to kind of be a little bit concerned about.
Yeah, no, and not to go there, but if you didn't feel good about him in spots in this game, maybe it's a Cornet game. Again, they had no shooters on the Hawks side.
You were almost like, apologetic about having to say
He
that.
couldn't
Look
even
what we've
say it
done.
with a straight face.
Again,
We've
John, who are you
we've
scared
broken
of
you.
on
Go
that
ahead.
team,
Go
too,
ahead
then?
and say it. No, you can say it. You can say it.
You can say it.
No, I don't.
We're not-
Either way you
we're
want to
not gonna
go
yell
there,
about it.
but
Yeah.
but I think they needed to play a little bit bigger in this game. And I sent the numbers, the Cada numbers. They're really better across all areas defensively when he's out there, except the defensive rebounding. So maybe that wouldn't have helped much in this game, given that was a major part of this one. So I'll acknowledge that. But I just feel like, I don't know, like if you had to go to any like second guesses in terms of adjustments or things they could have done differently in this game, that's what I'm pointing out.
More Luke.
More Luke, more size in general, whether it's
I
Luke
wasn't.
or
I didn't mean
Kada.
to. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think that it was.
We're just
any
as stunned
one-
as you are.
I want to
I
hang
think
that
the
one in the
quote that
Louvre right
captured the
there.
defensive issues best tonight was Joe saying it didn't matter if it was a small, a big, or a medium.
It was
They were
effort.
scoring layups on us.
Yeah.
That's the truth, honestly. Like, sure, Porzingis would have helped because I think Porzingis is a massively underrated rim protector and he bails everybody else out.
He's going
too.
to solve a lot of
He's
these
going to help
problems.
a lot. But I don't think this was a Kada thing. I don't think this was an Al thing. I don't think it was any one guy. It was everybody was getting beat all night,
So-
uncharacteristically so. And it's just going to throw everything off. And I don't want to bail Joe out either. Like, again, I'll rewatch this game and then maybe I'll change my mind on this. But from just watching it the first time around and being here, like, it didn't look like a one person adjustment that would have fixed things.
So is that where we are, John, already? The malaise, the low of the season. I mean, we've had a few Tatum games recently that I think you could qualify as that. And even, going down 16 at Milwaukee and, just some of the Nets game, they're down all
Look,
game. Like, are
that's
they in
the
that
thing.
stage already?
Sadly, yes. It's been building a little bit, right? Because I mean, you got back-to-back games where you don't show up at the start. You go down 16-2, and again, your talent wins out hugely. But like, you can't not recognize that that's not a great way to start games.
Yeah.
Again, we're not talking about, oh my God, this team's in a, they've completely lost focus and it's going to be this way all year. But the concern, as we've seen in past iterations of this team, is this notion of flipping the switch. You don't want to fall too far into that habit of like, okay, we really know it doesn't matter, because it really doesn't matter for this team, the regular season, because you know where they're going to be at the end of the season. But you can't always turn it on and off. You do need good habits. And again, part of what made them great last year was that they didn't have a lot of games like this. And when they did, they might have had little bumps that were 1 and 2 games of like inconsistent effort. And then they came back with a vengeance. So any of the quote narratives that people like to run with about what type of team that they were when they were, criticizing them, they would beat them back so resoundingly. Not only would they you'd have a game, they didn't have a 3-game losing streak, right?
No, but I mean, that Hawks series is a good example.
Sure, but not only would you not have a game or two where the performance would be inconsistent or a small stretch, then they would come back and rip off 12 straight games where they just destroyed. So it was never anything you get worked up about. This is, I mean, you can say they haven't really had a lot of complete efforts since the first 3 or 4 games of the season, and that's not awesome. You'd rather they be able to quickly snap themselves out of it and come back with a dominant, full-on, strong effort, bounce back performance. You're just getting it in flashes, in the games, but you're not getting full 48s out of them right now.
And I do think the bench is part of it, Noah, because Pritchard's given you a great boost in those minutes. This is a game where you did.
There's always a savior, right? Yeah.
Someone's
Someone's bailing them out. Yeah.
We threw that quote out there last segment we did. Is he says, when the stars don't have it, I got to come in and the bench has to come in and bring that energy. Hauser's, whether it's the injury or just a slow start to the year, that hasn't been a boost for you. And then you've lost Luke effectively here with Kada, rising. And he's been a big boost for you in spots. But the bench unit hasn't been that consistent force or the driver when they're shorthanded. And they've won those games in spots this year. But it's going to be interesting to see tomorrow, with Horford out. Who knows if Tatum actually plays? I know he said he was gonna, but if you are shorthanded against this Nets team that almost pulled it off last time against you, you could be in a tough spot where the bench really has to come through again. So they're still getting a feel for things, right? Obviously, we talked about it, and it hasn't been a huge thing to start this year. But our biggest concern, or at least my biggest concern, is that you didn't have Porzingis in spots last year, like maybe 2, 3, 4 game stretches. And then, of course, you didn't have him for the playoff run, but you could play Horford 40 minutes to make up for it. Now that you can't quite do that, or you can't quite get that like full burst from the starters in playoff mode, it's tougher not having Porzingis for 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 20 games, however long this is going to go on here. So I actually think you're starting to feel that loss a little bit right now.
Yeah, you are. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team over the next few days because this was a really uninspiring portion of the schedule.
Toronto,
yeah, we had Brooklyn, we had Atlanta, we have Brooklyn tomorrow, we have Toronto this weekend. It's not. I don't think this is the stretch that guys are getting up for. But the important thing about being a good team is that you win the games even that aren't the most exciting. And so this, in a way, it's probably. I mean, I don't want to be Joe Mazzulla here, but it's probably for the best that they lost in the sense that like they've gotten away with some bad habits. They've gotten away with some slow starts. We've praised them. I've praised them for being able to overcome those slow starts and kind of a lot of things not going their way. But ultimately, like that's not a sustainable way to go about your season, especially the teams that they were falling down to. It's like there was no reason to be down 16-2 to Brooklyn and to Milwaukee. And so we'll see if this is the Celtics team that we know from last season, like they'll win by 25 tomorrow in Brooklyn. And like, that's what I expect, honestly. I'll be surprised if they come out with low energy, low effort tomorrow or even any shades of today's game. So we'll see. But I do think these next few games are going to kind of answer this question of like, is this indicative of something more concerning or something larger about this team? Or is this just, it happens and every single season we can point to every championship team. There's always like a couple of losses where you're just like, how did this team lose to that group over there?
Yeah. And we're always going to mention the threes as part of it, John, but we talked about a couple of games ago that 5-6 games starting to add up where they're not quite shooting the same, and then they got back to it
tonight and lost, which never happens. Yeah. Then losing when they shoot 40% is a rarity, obviously here in the Joe Mazzulla era. So they got the threes. They just again those second chance points to get beat up on the glass. Every time I feel bad about things with the Celtics, I go over and I check out recently at least the Portland Trailblazers box score, and it's nice to see again Rob Williams coming off the bench. 5 minutes, 2 for 3 field goals, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks.
Wow, he's back.
He's back
5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. That's Rob's stat
what he
line.
would always do.
And he's out for 2 months.
And he's out.
No, Jimmy.
No, don't say that about our guy.
We need a full season from him.
I need it. But anyway,
that's what we need to see.
Yeah.
Delano Ban. Shout out to him.
Banton also having a nice start to this game. We wanted to talk about it real quickly. Joel Embiid made his NBA his season debut today. Oh
wow!
Not
bad.
Great. I didn't catch it.
I didn't get to catch it.
Did almost nothing in the first half. Shot only 3 field goal attempts in the first half. Finished 26 minutes, 2 for 11, 105 from 3, a -7, 13 points on the game. Not a great start as the Sixers got run by the New York Knicks. So interesting.
Bobby and Noah's
on.
team, they were scared of the Sixers this year.
Is it possible we've got the East wrong this year? Is it possible everything is wrong? Before the year, it was Knicks, Sixers, Bucks, Celtics. Everyone else can go screw. Completely upside down right now in terms of teams. You've got.
I know. Who knows who could grab those top?
The Knicks are still there.
No, I'm not making team predictions anymore because mine are all wrong. I pride myself on being good at predictions, but I realize it's limited to the Celtics because I do think like when you're looking at this landscape, the fact that the Cavs are 12-0, it's like the same thing as last year where the Timberwolves just made their massive jump or like the Thunder. Like it's so hard to see these things coming. And then once they're there, it's like, obviously I'm looking at this Cavs team and I'm like, why wouldn't they be one of the best teams? Like they just have all the pieces you need and they just weren't that.
It was Mobley.
Yeah.
Mobley underwhelmed immensely to start his career offensively, and now he's finding himself on that end.
And having
in the tail end of the Celtics series there, and not to do the easiest run everything, but I think you got the Pacers' best punch. You got the Heat's, no Butler,
There's
so that's
no
tough,
Jared Allen and half the series.
no Mitchell and Allen. You're really not playing the real Cavs there. So that was a series that I don't think is indicative of how you're going to play them this year if you meet up with them. And
but Bobby, I remember you saying the people you were talking to within the Celtics organization last year, heading into the playoffs, of all of the teams were saying, where's the potential landmine here? They thought Cleveland was it.
Yeah,
That
and
was
remember
last.
2
That was
years
last
ago.
year. Yeah.
2 years ago, their numbers said the Heat are dangerous, and they end up losing to the Heat. So the
Yeah.
Cavs were that team last year, but they weren't healthy. And now, you look at obviously Allen being back and Mitchell being back at full
And Garland's
strength,
a different
and
player
Garland's
than he
a
was
different
last
guy.
year. Yeah.
But even Ty Jerome, who
Shooting
played 2
like
games
shooting the
for them
lights
last
out.
year.
Yeah.
Ty Jerome's a nice piece, a guy who can handle, shoot, and play some guard/forward minutes for
Yeah.
you. So they're great, and the coach is amazing. I mean, you look back at his Nets
Yeah.
days and Warriors days, and he's great. He's transformed that team.
Let's end on a couple of positive notes. Jaylen Brown, again, a couple of incompletes in this game, just in terms of missing a couple free throws late, and the turnovers a little higher than you would like to see. But he had a monster game, and he needed it bad. So it was really good to see that. And then, Derek White in that fourth quarter, and just not just the threes he was hitting, the way he was hitting them, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
This was like the ball was touching his hand and it was gone, and just splash, splash, splash. And again, every time you see Derek White, I ask myself, like, how can you be underrated year after year after year? Like, he keeps doing something amazing and impressing everybody, and they're like, oh, he's really, really better than we thought. And then he's still underrated. And then he's like you guys have to start talking about Derek White as like among the 20 best players in the NBA, and not like this nice extra piece that the teams have here. Brown, we know, is good, and Brown's kind of made that little bit of leap. But Derek White is just you almost
He's your
want
third
him
All-Star.
You at this point, he absolutely is. And I do wonder, with Brown's slow start and missing a few games, if he's knocked himself back out of that pack a little bit, and D. White is the second All-Star, and we'll see how that goes, because the numbers are always going to anyway.
Team USA all over again.
Team USA. I can't wait for the emojis if that happens. But yeah. But I mean, both of those guys outstanding. I mean, and like I said, Brown needed it because he had a really rough start to the season.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and you need guys to be able to carry you for stretches. Tatum not quite himself in this game, especially at the start, and you needed ball handling and shot making on the wings and all of that. So they came through, wasn't enough, and just we'll see. Again, Noah said it. We'll see how this extends to the next couple of games here, and that'll tell us a lot. But in this case, super uncharacteristic. They only turned the ball over 20 times once last year, so. They do it again here. Is this going to be the only time we see this year? They controlled the ball pretty well this year. I think that they can put that to rest. But rebounding, interior defense, that's something I'm keeping a very close eye on to start this year, and it's a vulnerability of theirs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the turnovers were pretty perplexing. Like, again, I don't want to be a broken record, but I really want to rewatch it because some of them were like the last pass from Drew Holiday to Tatum. I don't know why he couldn't catch that. From our angle, it was so confusing, and there were a lot of plays like that where it was just like a missed conversion. And if you're Joe Mazzulla, I don't know how you even process those.
It was just the teeniest bit. Like, I watched it a couple of times. It was just the teeniest bit of lean where Tatum, I think, was at that moment just kind of digging into his spot. And I think they thought the pass was just that he was going to flash out or pop out a little bit. So that was it. It was literally momentum because it was within his reach. But at that exact moment, he was just moving his momentum moving back just a little, and he couldn't get back out there because he was starting to work deeper into the post for the catch. And it went a little bit outside of his reach. Yeah.
It's funny that happens because how many times have we complained about him launching a three?
Yeah, we're like, get into the post and do your work from there. And I think he was trying to get position and working for his position and putting his weight back, and it was just out of his reach there, which was too bad. Last one I wanted to,
as much as they draw complaints a lot of the time, it's a clean shot that you can get off. So you'd rather get a shot off there.
Yeah. Last thing I want to mention, just because it's probably a person that wasn't on a lot of people's radar. I mean, coming into this game, but holy Dyson Daniels, man.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Everywhere. They got a haul for DeJounte Murray. By the way, that's the Lakers pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been seeing Pelicans Twitter talking about him. Not happy about what they're seeing.
And he went at them when they played them and was firing shots at their bench when he hit a big shot in that game. I heard my guy Kevin Kennard down there told me he had 7 steals last game and 6 tonight. Yeah.
So Daniels has something like 36 steals on the year. I thought I saw the stat, and the next person's closest player has 20 something, and he had 6 tonight, 7 the other night. So I mean,
and he's
this
like,
guy
deflecting balls, like he's
holy
getting his hands
crap.
on rebounds, like he's
Some
just
tough
all over the
layups
place.
too. That last one he hit just hung on the rim and rolled in. It was impressive what he did in here.
Yeah. So whatever, hat tip there. You want to not just make every single loss about the Celtics. Played like shit. This was
Now they have the upper hand in this NBA Cup.
Oh yeah, so let's get down to it, Bobby. What does this? Because you're the only person on the planet who understands and cares and processes this. What does this do for their Emirates Cup chances? How much does this loss screw them?
Well, fortunately, you only lose by 1. So if it does go tiebreakers, which it probably will if you have a loss, you can overcome that. But now you're going to have to run up that scoring differential in all these remaining games and probably win all these remaining games. If you lose to the Cavs, it's going to be looking pretty dicey.
Damn.
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely don't want to start off with a loss, especially to that team. Like, I think, honestly, a big thing here is just how impressive that team's performance was, like just on their end, unrelated to the Celtics. But with the Cavs in this group, like early on when they assembled these groups, I was thinking this is a pretty weak group, but I didn't know the best team in the NBA was going to be in it. So, I mean, the Cavaliers they've been winning in every single way. And so they're going to be a tough matchup. And you don't want to start off this way. It's probably doesn't bode well for their hopes. And I can't tell if they really care about the cup or not.
I don't think they do.
People keep asking me this, and I'm like,
can tell.
They don't care.
Yeah, I think.
But do you remember last year they were fouling to run up the score, and they were cheering in the locker room when they made it. And I was like, okay, they care a little bit about this.
Yeah, it's been mixed signals. It's tough to tell. I don't think
here's the thing.
I'm leaning no based on today.
They don't care when they lose, but they care when they win. So it's a too cool for school attitude. If you're losing, like, well, whatever, it's just a game, regular season game. But when it gets down to it, we saw exactly how much they cared. There was a little extra intensity, a little extra effort in those games, and then that locker room reaction. So it. I mean, ultimately, somebody's moving on ahead of you, and there's a bit of ego involved in it. And I think that trip to Vegas is also fun, but a little money involved, and the money is nice. So they care when it's close, but they can write it off as not a big deal if they fall short, and that's what they're going to do if they stumble in any other of these games heading into the to the elimination round.
They failed to get the money for Luke last year because he said he was going to pay off his mortgage, and he didn't do it. So now this time around, they got to get it for him.
And it's more money this year than it was last year. It's more than twice as much, I think.
Do it for Luke. Yeah. So again, that's that with this game. Celtics lose the first game of the NBA Emirates. That's what Emirates NBA Cup or NBA Emirates Cup.
You're asking me.
One of those
tournament.
In-season tournament.
Call it the cup.
I'm just saying. I'm saying IST. Should I drop the IST? Is that over?
It's the cup.
Even like the Washington football team. I like the playing brand in-season tournament now compared to this thing actually sounds pretty good.
What didn't they in baseball? They changed the play-in game to the play-in stuff to call it something else too. Let's keep it simple. But yeah, they lose to the Atlanta Hawks home game. They're back against the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow, and we will be back as well covering that game here on the Garden Report. So again, thank you to Bobby and Noah covering the game at home. We're sorry for the late start to this one. Had a little bit of a snafu with scheduling, but we are glad that you were able to join us. Celtics, like I said, fall 117-116 to the Atlanta Hawks, and maybe the worst game of the year.
We're going to forget about this game. We're going to forget about it. New one tomorrow. We don't even think.
I forgot about it already.
Yeah,
I'm done. We're good. Thanks, guys, for hanging out.
New York,
first of the floor.
Nice.
Go check those guys out. They're coming up next with more basketball talk. Take care.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game. Porford's out. I think it's an option. That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.